Guten Tag, welcome back to Lightstand Entertainment. This is Deviant D. Wishing all you, hope you had a good work week or school week or just whatever type of week you had, and hope the weekend's treating you good. Just wanted to get online and talk about, the wife and I just got out of seeing Adam Wingard's latest horror flick, genre flick, 2016's Blair Witch, the third film in the Blair Witch franchise that started in 99 with the Blair Witch Project, continued in 2000 with Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, and we had a big old gap, about 16 years before we got the latest incarnation, because number 2 in many ways effectively killed the franchise way back in 2000. There have been talks of a part 3. The two writers-directors that made the first one were saying they were going to come back and make a third one for a while. Basically, everybody was pitching a Blair Witch 3 for a while, and Adam Wingard finally got the job. And this guy's been involved with the mumblecore movement and done some thriller horror stuff, but he really got on the radar of the horror genre fans or thriller fans, basically film fans in general, with 2011's You're Next, and followed that up with 2014's The Guest. And both are just great films, totally different films, but one's a straight up horror movie. The second one is more of a revenge like thriller. But they're both great. They're both high octane and just a lot of fun. Great genre films. So a lot of us have kind of put Adam Wingard on a pedestal, and we originally, all of us thought his next movie was simply going to be called The Woods. I was so impressed by this that the people that work at Lionsgate were able to keep it quiet until the Comic-Con in San Diego in August that The Woods was in fact Blair Witch, the third Blair Witch movie. I mean, they kept that shit on lock until about a month and a half before the movie came out. I mean, these days, because of the interweb and everybody knowing everything about anything, it always amazes me when films kind of fly under the radar and accomplish that. So I thought that was really cool. Anyway, everybody knows the Blair Witch Project. I won't talk too much about that. Basically, it is the one that spawned this franchise, obviously. Not only that, was one of the biggest horror movies of the year, one of the biggest films of the year. Kind of changed the genre, and really, even though it wasn't the first found footage horror film, it kind of like made the mold, like, so to speak, with what found footage horror films would be, for better or for worse, after that. But anyway, the film's series continued with Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people love to hate it. Won't talk much about it. Anyway, number 3, Blair Witch. I dug it. I liked the film. I thought it was well done. I don't think it's his best film, Adam Wingard's best film. I always like, original ideas versus the sequel, but I really did like it. I dug it. One thing that I'll say, and I won't do too many spoilers, even though the movie's been out for like 3 weeks now, so pretty much if you wanted to know what happened in the movie by now, you probably have found out. One thing kind of struck me when I was watching the movie is how much it reminded me of last year's Star Wars The Force Awakens. Stick with me a second. When you're watching Star Wars The Force Awakens, like, I dig that movie. I think it's great. I'm a Star Wars fan. I dug it. I had a good time with it for what it was. JJ did a good job. But there's this thing when you're watching the movie, you're like, this is kind of reminded me of another Star Wars movie from years ago, like, and it's been criticized, like the people that were critical of The Force Awakens, that's what they pointed their finger at. They're like, you basically remade the original Star Wars, A New Hope, whatever you want to call it, and that's all you did. But I still dug it. Blair Witch, it runs the same way. There are a lot of beats in the film that mimic the original Blair Witch Project from 99. One example is there's a part, remember, in the original one, the Blair Witch Project, where Heather, Mike, and Josh, that's 3 characters from the original film, are lost. They're walking around, which happens a lot, but At the beginning of this one day, they set out at a certain point, and by the end of the day, they pretty much completed a huge circle, and at the end of the day, they're walking up to where they basically started the day off, so they just did a big circle. Same thing happens in the new Blair Witch. They start walking away from this one area they camped, and the night before, of course, there were noises, scary shit, and then in the morning, they have those fucking, Blair Witch things hung around, made of wood, hanging all around them, and they set off, and they rip a few of them down, but they leave a lot of them, and they set off, and at the end of the day, they're right back there, right back at their camp spot that they did the night before. So that was like my big impression with it. I really dug the movie because it fed on that nostalgic vibe that I always dig with movies. If you remind me when I'm watching a movie of some might say a better movie from my past. I don't know. It was fun. It was fun. Like, yeah, there's a lot of jump scares, and like some people find that type of scare cheap. Yeah, kind of is, but it's kind of like the roller coaster scare. It's like quick, it's like riding a roller coaster. And I'll admit it, one of the jump scares got me. A few of them are choreographed. If you've seen a lot of horror films like I have, you could see a lot of the shit coming. But for Adam Wingard, he made a good movie. He did. And the big thing is, you never saw the Blair Witch and the Blair Witch Project, and you really don't see her. You don't see her in Book of Shadows. Big question is, do you see the Blair Witch? Yes, you do. You finally see the Blair Witch. I won't spoil what she looked like. Did she look cool? I dug the look. It worked. I really did. There were certain things that were, because up until now we've only got descriptions from people like the beginning of the original Blair Witch Project, when Heather's talking to all the crazy townspeople. Like, there's that one older lady who's like describing her as she's got hair all over her body, and you're like, it's like a laughable moment in the original Blair Witch. Well, she does in fact have a lot of hair on her body, so I thought that was a cool reference to the first one. I'm like, yeah, at least they paid attention. And they add a little bit more to the mythology of the Blair Witch, but honestly, they don't change much from the very first film, which is what I liked. Because, the first film came out, 17 years ago. A lot of remakes, reboots, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm looking at you, feel the need to change part of the mythology that we've grown to love and, about the franchise, whatever franchise we're looking at. Blair Witch doesn't do that. They still run with the fact that Heather and Mike and Josh disappeared in 94. The first film. In fact, the lead character of the new Blair Witch movie is the brother of Heather, who was the lead character from the original Blair Witch Project, and he's doing the whole thing, going out to find her. That's essentially, has a group of him and his friends, and they've run into another couple, and it's 6 characters altogether. 6 meat bags for the slaughter. And yeah, it was a fun time. I dug it. I can see basically, this film is made for fans of the first film, particularly. You don't even need to be a fan of the second film to enjoy this new one. It was made for the Blair Witch Project fans, and I'm in that group, so I dug it. I really liked it. You should check it out. I mean, it's almost Halloween, so I'll be talking about a lot of horror movies because I love horror movies, and I love that you're watching these videos. This has been Deviant D for Lightstand Entertainment. Thanks for watching. Rock on.